everybody, and welcome to the Phoenix and the Ferryman podcast. Tonight, I am bringing you guys an excellent example of someone who has shifted careers and has become a leadership coach, and he does international speaking, he's working on a book, he does conferences, and he's got some wonderful things to tell you guys tonight. And so just please welcome Todd Kuckkahn to our show.
Hello, Krista. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, Todd. Did I butcher your last name?
You were right on target, and you didn't even ask ahead of time. I mean, but we've known each other for a little while, so I appreciate that.
Right. So Todd is a member of a mastermind organization that I'm in. So we met through Unleash You, and I've had the opportunity of hearing him speak a few times, and he is extremely inspiring and motivational and has some really great foundations in leadership, which is not my scope of practice. So I love to listen to him speak because I don't know all the things that he talks about. So I hope you guys enjoy listening to Todd tonight. So Todd, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what kind of things you do in life to keep yourself entertained and just who you are as a person?
Sure. I appreciate that. I think, Krista, the fact we're different, I think, one of the things that I talk about when I speak is how differences make us better. And I think that's so important in life, whether you're talking about diversity, equity, inclusivity, whether you're talking about professions, whatever the case might be. I think we can learn so much more from each other if we have an open mind and open heart and are willing to listen to each other. And not that maybe someone's going to change my views. It might even help cement my views more, but that the differences part. So that's why I have a lot of respect for you and what you do for your audience. There's so many great things. And I guess just to take a quick aside from who I am is really thank all those people. Thank the military, thank those in the police department, fire department, first responders, all the people that you're helping and really working for and battle to be you're the nonprofit that's out there. You just do some wonderful things for some great people. And we were talking before we jumped on here about my father, who he's 93, and he and my mom have been married for 71 years, and he fought in the Navy in the Korean War, and I just have so much pride for him and all that he's done for our country, and as well as so many other people in whatever line of work they're in protecting us. You asked about me and who I am. That's always a hard question to answer. But a couple things that pop to mind while you're asking me that. One is I think that everybody has a message and everybody needs to hear a message. So my message tonight may or may not resonate with people, but I know there are people out there that want to and need to hear my message. And I don't mean that in a boastful way, right? I think there's people out there, though, you just never know, just like you on your shows, your shows all the time, the speaking that you've done and some great opportunities you have. There are people in the audience that need to hear your message. And that's really what's motivated me now to go down this road of developing my own business and stepping aside from my job. When I initially started this, about 4 or 5 years ago, this leadership development journey, quite honestly, I was kind of doing it for the money to start with, to supplement my job. And I guess that's okay. But as I got more and more into it and saw some of the impacts I made, and not huge global worldwide, Martin Luther King had all kind of impacts, but in my little world, it really kind of turned my heart around to saying, well, what I really want to do is add value to others and add more value to others than they might add to me. So I guess that's a little bit about who I am, Krista.
I don't ever think admitting that we all have to make a living is a negative thing. I mean, we all know that the world revolves around financial stuff. We have to feed ourselves. So, but I think the best thing that we can do is find a way to feed ourselves that allows us to, as you say, add more value to other people than what we're receiving in return. So if we come at it from that perspective, it's just an exchange of energy. It's just a natural, I have something that you need. You have something that I need. Let's share. Let's trade. Let's take care of each other. So it's always so funny to me how everybody is always afraid of that word. You know, yes, I'm doing it for the income. Of course, we're all doing what we do, our jobs, for income. We live in the United States. That's the way it works. But from a place of giving, and from, you have that pure heart, you have that desire to change things, to bring light to people's eyes, and to show them that there's a different way maybe than what they're already seeing.
Well, and I think you look at it. You talked about giving and getting. Life is about giving, and not about taking. And in my current line of work that I'm soon going to be leaving, I run a chamber of commerce, and we have a lot of networking events. And sometimes people go there to get. I want business cards. I want a customer. And it doesn't work. You need to go there and give and say, hey, what can I do to help you? And then in turn, it's going to come around. It might not be that day or that week or that month, but it'll come around as long as you just keep giving and giving and giving. And it's really amazing. And even, people with faiths, different faiths, or don't have whatever, it's any kind of giving or support that you can give to other people. And again, thinking about what you do and sharing messages that you and I share, positive messages about growth and how to advance in your life, how to advance in your career. But that giving mentality, I think, is really important.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Networking is such a bad word. But if you look at networking from a different perspective and you look at it as an opportunity to build genuine relationships, that's what networking really is. We've gotten into, in a lot of the business networking organizations, it's gotten to the point where you go to a room and there's 100 people. Well, you can't build relationships with 100 people in an hour. So you're going to talk to 2 or 3 people. But find that 2 or 3 people that you can actually connect with, and you can actually have something to give and take with each other, and you'll have a successful event. If you meet one person out of 100 at that event that actually has a relationship with you after the event, that was networking. Instead of trying to get everyone's business cards and like, hey, here's my info. That doesn't actually work, because you go home and then you're like, who is this person?
You must be coming to our events, because that's exactly what I say. I stand up about halfway through. We have a 10-minute program, and I say, "All right, guys," and they laugh now. I said, "I got my business card. I met one new person, and I've made one new relationship, and that's really what it's all about." Yeah, and I think back to us in April when we were in Cancun for the mastermind, and there was, I don't know, 20, 30 people there, and even in that small setting for an entire weekend, it's hard to get to know everybody, but you and I managed to, get to know each other a little bit more. I had a chance to speak, and I heard, talking with you, and we got a chance to know each other. And then really that whole network development thing is about building that trust. And as you develop that trust, you can't do it in with one business card in one moment. It has to happen over time. And now, here you and I are sitting, you're in Texas, I'm in Wisconsin. We're talking about leadership and growth and trauma and development and challenges, and what an awesome thing. But we gave it time, and we built trust, and we knew the people around us. And I think for anybody listening, it's the same thing. It's not gonna flip overnight. You have to give it time. Simon Sinek talks about. He's got a great clip, and I can't remember the name of it, but if you Google Simon Sinek love leadership exercise, just Google those words, and he talks about how leadership is just, and relationships are just like love or exercise. If you go to the gym and exercise for 9 hours in a day, you're not going to have a whole lot of change, other than the fact you're going to be extremely sore the next day. If you do it over a month, 30 minutes a day, you're going to get that change. Same thing with love, right? It wasn't like all of a sudden, bang, I love you. It takes time to develop that relationship. The same thing is in leadership development or personal growth. It takes time. It's not like flipping a switch. You keep feeding yourself all the good things you need. You feed yourself exercise, you feed yourself a loving relationship, or you feed yourself leadership growth by reading, by talking to people like you, or going to different events. So it's that whole process and developing that trustful relationship that helps you develop your network. Geez, I feel like I could jump through the screen. You get me so fired up here.
And this is also true of healing. We're on parallel journeys here, that all of these things, we want you to recognize out there, you who are listening, that none of this is quick and easy. There is no magic pill. There is no magic cure. There is none of that. That when you're looking for personal growth, when you're looking for healing, when you're looking for leadership skill, when you're looking for developing relationship or looking for healing relationship, all of these things take consistency, small doses over time of positive things, changes, habits, thought processes, mindset, the whole bunch of different things that you're attacking each and every day for a period of time, and then you notice change. And you might not be the first one to notice change. Your people who know you well might notice it before you do because you see yourself every day.
You use the word persistent, and I think that is so important. And whether it's reaching out for help or whether it's giving help, but just there are people out there that want to help you. It might not be the first or second or third person, or it might take a while with one person to get to a point where, and you might, like you said, you may not notice that difference, but other people likely will. But finding that person you can connect with, and that takes time. And in a different sort of way with the Unleash You Now family and yourself, it took some time for me to stumble across Michael Faber and AJ and that group, and they've really, we both laugh, right, because we know them, but they're great guys, and all the people, and then developing those relations, and looking at someone like Nicole, who's really made, just watching her stuff on social media, and you as well, Krista, but watching Nicole's stuff and how she's grown and changed, and she may not even notice it herself, right? Because sometimes when you're in the picture, you don't see it, but she reached out, and she's had people help her in a variety of different ways, and it's, persistence and patience and consistency are all really important.
You and I actually have one thematic in common. We both work with core values.
There you go.
I work with them very differently than you do. But tell us a little bit about, okay, what is a core value and what does it mean?
Sure. A core value is really what's foundational to you, foundational to your soul. It's who, you asked the question to me before, who are you? And I'm surprised I didn't spout off my core values, but it's one of my, I have this five-step roadmap for a mindset shift to help people shift their mindset to hopefully a more positive tune. And the first step is your core values, because you really have to know who you are, and you really have to work from the inside out. And you were part of the, I'm trying to think if I did that exercise in Cancun, I think I may have, and taking you through your core values, and it's a series of steps, and it's not just like finding a bunch of words and, oh yeah, those are my core values. It's really thinking through those and looking at some serious questions about what brings you joy, what you want your legacy to be, what have your challenges been in life, what causes you issues in your life, and then determining what are your core values. And something we didn't do in Cancun was actually starting to put those core values into action by, write a sentence around those core values and what they mean. And then I've got some other steps in the process. Mine happen to be optimism, trust, honesty, enthusiasm, and teamwork. And everybody's core values are different, just like we're all different people. But those are really things that are near and dear to my heart. And I had a situation in earlier this year in the wintertime. Some of you don't experience winter, but in Wisconsin we certainly do. But in the wintertime, I was doing a presentation to a group, a training virtually, which is a bit of a challenge because I like to be face-to-face as much as possible. But anyway, and so I was doing the same training to 3 different groups. And I was did the first group, the training was over. The HR director called me and said, Todd, we gotta stop. We're not going to continue with this training. I'm like, okay. One or two people from the previous one made some comments, and I actually know the person, and that's a whole nother story. But anyway, so I got the rug pulled out from under me, and as you said when you introduced me, I love training, and I really, again, like to add value. I like to help people grow and build, and this was about sales and communication. And so we kind of stepped back, and I got together with her committee again, and I was working through a technical college in town to get this opportunity. So I'm like, oh my gosh, now I've let them down. They're not, I was like, I was in a bad spot in that sort of way. And so I just, I honestly, I leaned on my core values. I said, okay, Todd, you're optimistic. You work on trust, honesty, enthusiasm, teamwork. So we got together with the team. We redid the training, and I came back a month or so later did the third step of the 4. Then when he came back again, did the 4th step. And actually, she was very complimentary to the end. But my core value, it's really about my core values, or anybody's core values, and how they really ground you and help you better understand yourself from the inside out. And I like to talk about, put your oxygen mask on first, right? When you're in an airplane, they talk about that. And if you don't help yourself first, it's also hard to help others, but it's also hard to help yourself if you don't know what you're grounded in. So I know that may be a little bit different than how you utilize them, but probably the same general concept.
Yeah, definitely. I play with the really similar, I use a really similar worksheet to the one that you use. But when I address core values, it's really as a foundation of self, because a lot of my people don't actually have a self identity. They are really challenged by, if I say, who am I? Who are you? They literally can't answer. So we start with, what are your non-negotiables? What are the things that you stand for no matter what? So we do the core values exercise, but then we do the core values exercise from a standpoint of, what are the things that are non-negotiable for you, for yourself? And what are the non-negotiables for you in relationships with other people? So what core values do you project onto others? And then we do, now that you know your core values, what are your core needs? Acceptance, appreciation, and all of that. There's only a few. Everyone's pretty similar on those. They vary a little. So then we apply all of those. And what does that look like in your relationships with other people? What does that look like in your relationship with yourself? How can you achieve living a life that represents your core values and get your core needs met? So that's the way that we play with them. But they're so structurally important. They literally are the essence of who we are. If we're in alignment with ourself, we'll be true to our core values. So when we notice that we're way off base and we're like, I'm acting in this way that doesn't match, well, I'm probably not doing something that's true to myself in this moment. And that's when you feel all the icky feelings.
Yeah, exactly. And part of what I've learned along the way, a lot, when I first got involved in leadership and personal growth, it was through the John Maxwell team. And John would always talk about every day he spends like a half hour with a pad of paper. He's old school, pad of paper and a pen in a room, and he's got a comfortable chair, and he probably has 15 rooms in his house. But anyway, he spends time just thinking. And I think that's kind of an element of it. It was, we are so, sometimes we're so worried about others, we forget to take the time for ourselves to think about things like our core values. And I know there are some people that, that may not be the case. They're obviously spending a lot of time, but if you don't spend time thinking about yourself and what you are, who you are, what you believe in, why you believe in it, and, the core values exercises that we both use, I think that's really critical. It's such a fast-paced world we're in. I mean, my parents probably said that 90 years ago too, but it truly is. And there's so much change and uncertainty out there. And that's a lot about what I talk about too. Try to bring some, you try to bring some calm to people, and you do a wonderful job of that. But with when COVID hit, but even before COVID, there was change and uncertainty in all of our lives, and there is during COVID, and there's going to be, sad to say, forever. But it's how we use our things like our core values to kind of balance that and try to do our best to keep those under control to some degree. And oftentimes that you have to reach out to others, as we talked about earlier. And that's one of the steps in my 5-step process, is your inner circle. Who are the 5 people closest to you that really impact your life? Jim Rohn, I guess, kind of is the father of that thought, as far as I know. But and that's changed in my life now that I'm in Unleash You Now family. I lean a lot on Michael Faber and AJ Vassar, are 2 people that I lean on a lot, because they've meant a lot to me. They're people I can go to, I can trust, I can say whatever I can say, and AJ will tell me how stupid I am. Not really, but he'll be very honest with me. But having those people close to you, and sometimes it might not be your immediate family, even your spouse or partner. It could be somebody else. But those people that you can go to and really, again, trust and know that you can reflect on, talk about things like core values without getting, like, oh, that's corny, like your friends kind of roll your eyes at you. But that inner circle is kind of another element of that, the people that you surround yourself with.
And you probably don't even think about it, but literally, your support system is what we call it in the healing industry. It's just as crucial in healing as it is in personal development, as it is in leadership, as it is in relationship. All of these processes are parallel. Like, they're all the same process. So we need the same things in every aspect of our lives. So if we have a good support circle, if we have those people in our surroundings that we trust, that we can go to, those people might be different for business than they are for personal life, than they are for healing. But you have your support people, and that's crucial. It's crucial for our mental health and for our survival and for our ability to thrive. We're social creatures. We don't do well if we don't have our people.
And you add that on, you're talking about being social creatures, you add that element to it. What we've been through the last 18 months, we've been forced in some ways to be less social. So that does not, that does not bode well. But again, fortunately, like you and I, well, of course, this is a distance thing, but the ability to reach out, I remember when COVID first hit in March of last year, and we had to shut down our offices in Wisconsin. And I basically was ready to shut down, and just like we weren't going to do any networking stuff or trainings. And somebody said, "Oh, there's this thing out there called Zoom." Right. Well, now it's a verb. You've been zoomed and all these different things. But at least we do have that. But it's another tool to use to try to make those connections. Because you're right, your support system for folks is so critical for them for their healing. You're exactly right.
You do some work with personality types, don't you?
Yes, yeah. I use the DISC behavior assessment, and that's something else. I'm a consultant through the Maxwell team, and that's another great tool to help you learn more about yourself. The best thing about it is it's you telling about yourself. It's not your spouse or your boss or your the lieutenant or something telling you. It's kind of you telling about yourself. But it's basically it's a 15-minute assessment, and there's those questions in there. There's like 4 statements, and you can narrow it down to 3, right? Because they're all like, oh my gosh, how do I answer this? But you answer it from the heart, and then at the end, it gives you a 30-page report, and it talks a lot about you, about your. Now I've got to look. I haven't looked at it in a little bit, but it gives you like who you really are, who you are when you try to adapt, and who you are deep down. So it gives you 3 different graphs to look at and kind of figure out, okay, where am I in my personality and my behaviors? And then the majority of the report talks about, okay, how can I use that? My communication style is an I. I'm an influencer. If you can't tell, I'm outgoing and loud and enthusiastic and all those things I talked about, my core values. But when I come across somebody who's maybe quieter, more introspective, and likes, tables and graphs, for example, I have to understand who I am, and then how can I deal with that person? Because they're going to be different. So just because someone is really, I walk by their office, let's say, and they're really focused on a spreadsheet, and I want to talk about the football games over the weekend, it doesn't mean they're crabby. It means that's their style. They want to get this spreadsheet done because that's their style. So I can walk out in the office and say, oh man, Susie or Billy is really a crab today. They don't want to talk to me. Or I can walk out in the office and say, hey guys, let's leave Susie or Billy alone. They're really trying hard to get this spreadsheet done. Kind of a simplistic look at it, but that's really how it can be helpful. And then it gets into, what are some steps I can take personally to better I don't want to change. I'm not trying to change. The report doesn't try to change your style. It helps you understand your style and how you can deal with other people's styles. So then you kind of develop an action plan. Okay, so how am I going to be if I'm not a good listener, how am I going to be a better listener? Or if I'm not good with data, how am I going to be a better data person to help Susie or Billy with their job? So I think it's really a powerful tool. Kind of an interesting side note. I've been doing a lot of posting on social media lately as part of what I'm doing with my business. And a guy who I coached in basketball, okay, this is going to give away my age, in 1987 at Monroe High School, he reached out to me and said, hey Todd, I see you're doing this stuff. I'm out on, I'm working at it. He's working at Generac, a fairly large company that is international. my IT department needs some help with this. Can you come help? And I'm like, so I ended up, I got a great contract with them, but kind of funny how social media works. But it was a result of this because they had done some assessments and they wanted to dig deeper. So it's great for team building. It's great for communication. It's great just for yourself, for your own introspection. You don't have to do it as part of a business. You can do it individually and learn a lot about yourself and maybe figure out some things that you can try and maybe try in these networking areas that we've talked about, different ways to go about it. So I think it's a powerful tool. And there are others out there. There's Myers-Briggs, and I think True Colors is another one. So, but of course I'm a little partial to DISC. So
we always like the one we're most familiar with.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But it sounds like it's really detailed, which is really good. And I really like that it's not about looking at your flaws and looking at the ways that you're not right, because like Myers-Briggs is a little bit, when you read the reports, it comes across a little bit like these are the things that are not positive about you, like these are your negative characteristics. And the way that you explain yours is more like it helps you to recognize places where you might make assumptions about other people so that you can not do that.
Right.
So you can see more clearly that they may just have a different way of thinking and you're not looking at them from your personality style. And that's a much more positive way of looking at things.
Yeah, exactly. And that, it's funny too, because when people take it and they get their assessment and they read through it on their own, 99% of the time, it's like, yeah, this is me. This is me. It's like scary. It's me. Well, it was you answering the questions on the assessment. So that's why it's you. But I had one guy tell me, he said, when I got the report, I said, that's not me at all. This thing is, what a faulty report. This isn't me. He had his wife read it. His wife said, oh my gosh, this is you exactly. This is exactly you. He wasn't willing to admit that that's what he was like. But his wife goes, yeah, and he read it again. It's like, oh yeah, it kind of was like me. So they're really interesting and on revealing reports. Yeah.
Looking at ourselves is the hardest thing to do.
Looking in the mirror, right? I mean, the mirror doesn't lie, and as long as you use the mirror in a positive way. But yeah, it's finding more out about ourselves. I think is really valuable, and in my case too, it's helped me to help others, and again in a different way than you do. But like with some of my social media posts, I'll get people who will shoot me a quick little, a direct message or personal message, whatever, and say how what I said, really made an impact. Somebody was a couple of different people talking about getting through chemotherapy, and like, I'm like, holy cow, don't, almost like don't put that on me. But it's like, but I was really proud to know that it gets back to that everybody has a message that they need to hear. And for that moment, for that person, whatever I said or did made a difference. And and all the work that you do, Kristen, so many other people out there that are helping people. It's so rewarding. Just those little things, yeah, we all need money to live, but it's those sorts of little rewards that make such a difference. And that's what I really love about what I'm doing. Why I've made the decision to kind of go on this, as part of my business.
Never underestimate the value of a little bit of motivation or a little bit of just mind shift. Sometimes all it takes is a few words and someone goes, aha, like they were already almost there, but they just needed that little push, and you gave them just the right words for them to see things a different way. And you don't have to be like purposely out there to, help someone get through chemotherapy. Sometimes it's just the right word at the right time, and that message hits home. So there's like, your words are powerful, your message is strong, and you're going to reach people in all different parts of their lives in all different moments. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to lead those who need that. Don't be afraid to say, yes, I'm proud of being able to inspire. I'm proud of being able to lead, because a good leader is hard to find. And
at first, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. At first, and this sounds weird, right? But at first I was almost like, I don't know, not embarrassed, but it's like, geez, that's, but then I started thinking about it, and kind of that shift of, making money to making a difference, that same sort of shift. And I'm like, well, you know what? I made a difference for that person today, and that's okay to do. I had a conversation with, again, mentioning, not this is an AJ love fest, but I had a conversation with AJ, and we were on Zoom, and he looked, he said, Todd, tell me about some of your accomplishments in life. So I told him some things, and I kind of, we've all got that work ethic, that pride that we don't like to talk about ourselves maybe. So I kind of hemmed and hawed, the old Wisconsin thing. And he stopped me. He said, Todd, that's enough. And I'm like, whoa, he said, you don't have a belief system. And it's like smack me in the side of the head. And it's like, yeah, you know what? I don't have that confidence or that belief system to be, not arrogant, but be confident in what I'm doing and what I've done and what I've accomplished. It's okay to talk about those things, whatever they are, if it's service in the military, if it's fighting fires, whatever, it's something that, while we know there's a lot of, people who have their opinions about it, the majority of people in the world feels very good about, people who do those sorts of things, first responders. And, in AJ's way, he was telling me in my small little world, my corner of the world, that it's okay to be proud of what you do and your belief system. So that gets back to those posts. My belief system really changed and pivoted when AJ kind of challenged me and said, it's okay to be proud of what you do and to be confident in what you do and to share your message and for people to hear you and reach out to them. So it was kind of one of those moments, like you say, you sometimes read that thing or hear that thing or someone says that thing to you and it's like, oh, okay, now I kind of get it. We're all learning. I mean, I'm closer to 100 than 0, and I'm learning more in the last 4 years than I have probably my whole life. So it's been a fun journey.
And this is what you just said, that you're closer to 100 than 0. And this is true for me too. We both got into this particular line of work, this particular mission and purpose, much later in life than many others do. And for my folks out there they're coming off the force, whether they want to or don't want to. So I know some of you guys get mediced off. And oftentimes when that happens, when you weren't ready to retire and you don't really have a place to go, you don't have another career plan. What many of you guys don't realize is, as first responders, as people who are coming out of the military or coming off the police force or coming out of being a firefighter or a medic even, you guys have a ton of leadership ability. You have a ton of leadership knowledge. You have also got amazing stories that people want to hear. You also have specific knowledge that you can share. So we live in a time when you can create online courses, when you can self-publish books, when you can coach those who are going into your industry who maybe need to know everything that you can pass on. So you guys have an opportunity, no matter what age you are, no matter where you are in your career, to keep that passion and that purpose alive and to keep moving forward, helping other people in the industry that you love, even if you can't continue to do your job the way that you have been doing your job in the past. So that shift doesn't have to be an end for you. That shift can be a beginning for you. And Todd and I are both here as examples of that. We both had different careers and we just shifted. And I shifted because I was in a massive car accident and I couldn't continue the physicality of my previous employment. But Todd shifted just because his passion and purpose. I'll let you tell that story.
Well, yeah, as I said before, I've been on this journey for about 4 years, and it got to the point this past winter where I had to really make a decision because I was using my vacation time and my own money to do my coaching and speaking and training, and with my full-time job, in the next to me. And I'm like, I was weighing it and what I want to do. And it's like, no, I really love what I do. And for a lot of the reasons that we've talked about. And so I had to make a decision. I said, you know what, I'm going to pull the trigger, and I'm going to build my business where I can help people, where I can add more value to people, where I can live my passion, what really excites me. I mean, I don't want to get too personal. I've just worked up a sweat just talking to you, Krista, because I just get excited. I love the topic. I think it's fascinating, and there's so much opportunity and possibility. But yeah, so I made the decision. I talked to our chamber's a nonprofit, so I talked to our board of directors and the president and vice president, and we talked through it. And we're having a really nice transition out. I'm going to be overlapping with a new person for about 3 weeks, so I can help him transition into the position. I can transition out of the position. And yeah, but it was that you and I both know Sean Douglas. So while I was going through this, I reached out to Sean because he has a group called the Growth Lab. So I talked to him some, and Sean asked a great question. And you know how Sean is, only like Sean can ask it. He said,
straight up.
Yeah. He said, do you want to live your dream or somebody else's? And there was like dead silence. And I'm like, that's it. You just did it for me. I want to live my dream. And as you were talking about, people who maybe are, for whatever reason, leaving the military or first responder, they're done with their service as a first responder, fire department. I was thinking of, because I do work with technical colleges, I was thinking about, what if those people went into high schools or technical colleges and talked about their experiences? And it gets back to what AJ had told me in the speaking class I took, that everybody has a message and everybody needs to share their message. And, those people in the audience might think, oh, nobody wants to hear about. Yes, they do.
So much. They so do.
You will impact. What if you only impact and changed one person's life and saved them in one way, shape, or form, or put them in a different direction and made a difference? And then, the more you do it, the more that multiplies. But do it just for that one person. And maybe somebody did it for you when you were younger, and maybe you don't even remember it. Somebody came and talked to you were in a high school assembly, and somebody from the fire department came in and tripped your trigger. And that got you into the firefighting as a career because you wanted to help people. Well, now this is a way for you to pay it forward and maybe go back in and talk. And you put on that uniform, or you talk about your career, and people, again, there's so much, we sometimes hear too much of the crap, and there's more good than there is crap out there. And you can help even make that message better. And it doesn't have to be speaking in front of a high school group. There's a lot of other ways to do that if you wouldn't be comfortable with that. But figure out a way, and you can make such an impact on young people and help direct them into a career that made such a difference for you and in your life.
Everybody has value. Everybody has something to give. Even in those moments when you feel like everything's been taken away from you, you can't even fathom the amount of value that you still have and the amount of opportunity that still waits for you. And for most of us, we just have to choose it. We have to just pick a direction and walk. And that really is survival. That really is the entire human condition. Pick a direction and walk. Because if you're not going anywhere, you're not going anywhere. But if you're always moving forward, you're going somewhere.
And I've again, my challenges in my life are much different than a lot of people who have to deal with trauma. So I'm not trying to gloss over that fact at all. But when I speak sometimes, and I just started doing this, I'll ask people, okay, how many people have been fired once in your life? And many people raise their hand. How many people have been fired twice? There's a few. How many 3 times? Maybe 1. Well, I've been fired 4 times, and I'm not proud of the fact. What I am proud of is somehow I got through it, and there were people there that supported me, that were in my circle, in my support system, that said, you know what, Todd, you're going to come out of this better than you were before. And and now here I am. It's my choice to leave now, and I'm leaving to something that I'm really passionate about. So it's kind of interesting how that kind of twisted around there. But you can get through it. And I haven't lived what you've lived, what your listeners have lived, but I just, from my little corner of the world, I see that out there, and so many people that want to help. AJ lived in a car for I don't know how long it was, but he lived in a car. He was homeless. He lived in a car, and now AJ is helping so many people. Michael Faber has had trauma in his life with his own brother, and so many stories. And when I first heard these stories, I felt like I'm not worthy. You know what? I'm not worthy to stand up in front of people and speak about what I've done. But then as I got that reinforcement again through social media, through my support system, through my inner circle talking to me about, yes, you can make a difference. Yes, people need to hear your story, and it mattered to people. So it's that journey thing. It's not going to be a switch that you flip, but maybe something you or I said tonight will trigger hopefully something. If we impacted one person, it's been a great night, and there's possibility out there.
So how can people find out more about you?
Oh heck, well, like call me or something, or come up to Wisconsin and Stevens Point and track me down. I have a website, and it's Todd Kuckkahn. Should I spell that out, or probably? Or no, it's on
the screen.
Oh, it's on the screen. Okay, people can see that. So yeah, toddkuckkahn.com. Pretty simple. It talks about some of the things I do. But I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I think my stuff goes on Instagram too. I'm not real savvy on that area, but I'd love nothing more than to sit on Zoom for a half an hour. And I had a conversation the other day with somebody I just met through this book writing thing I'm doing. And we were going to have a half hour kind of a get to know. And we were on for an hour and we had to drag each other off. So, if you just want to shoot the breeze, maybe you want to ask me about my dad in the Navy, or ask me how come I'm such a klutz and got fired 4 times, or talk about core values, or I could tell you all about Krista in Cancun and how she behaved herself. And she behaved herself. But I'm open to talk to people. But yeah, my website's out there too. And I'm going to be doing a conference in January up here in Wisconsin as well. But just find your people, find your support system.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Todd.
I enjoyed it. Thank you, Krista. It's awesome to see you. I can't wait till we can actually shake hands or hug or see each other live.
Thank you, everyone, for joining the show tonight, and have an amazing, amazing rest of your day. And we will have another show on Wednesday, which we usually don't, but I'm making up for missing last week. So we will have Crystal Castle on Wednesday, and then we also have another show on Friday. So you guys will want to catch us. I'm going to be talking a lot this week, so I can't wait to see you guys on Wednesday. Have a fantastic evening.